This is the Bat Pod.
Welcome to the Bat Pod, a Batman comic book discussion podcast. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Batman and Robin number 25 and Absolute Batman number 12.
Grab your bat microphone, it's time to start the show. Like a quart of owls, the mystery is starting to grow. Let there be no debate, it's about to begin. Keen like Bruce Wayne, quick like Tim Drake, fierce like Damien. Grab your headphones, listen up, you know you love it. Drop the facade. Like the Dark Knight detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat Pod.
Welcome to this edition of New Comic Book Day Special. The last episode, we debuted a New Comic Book Day Special with Batman number 1. I'm going to continue on. It's me solo tonight. My name is Bill Bere, and I'm going to discuss the two issues that came out this past Wednesday. And as I said, Batman number 25 and Absolute Batman number 12. If you'd like to join the conversation or emails the podcast at thebatpod.com, we are on Blue Sky, X, and Facebook. Just search the Bat Pod podcast. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please consider giving us a review. We'd really appreciate it.
The Bat Pod is a spoiler podcast. Please read the comics we're reviewing so you can enjoy the show.
Our first book tonight is Batman and Robin, The Quiet Man, Part 1. Your writer, Philip Kennedy Johnson. Artist, Fico Aseo. Colorist, Marcello Maheo. Letterer, Steve Wands. And editor, Ben Mears. Apologies for any name butcheries there. And we get a cover here, and it's just like Batman number 1, you know. You have the issue number in the top left corner, and you have Batman and Robin, miniature Batman and Robin. This is the old school, you know, Marvel. It has the numbering up there, and it has Batman and Robin, which I love. I love to see that. And Batman and Robin debuting. The last time we've seen Robin, he had a grayish costume that he's had for several years. And if you read Batman and Robin number 24, there's a story in there that is Damien's artwork in his comic book, and you see him actually debut that costume at the end of there. So we see it here on the cover. We have a little penguin. We have a little Quiet Man, which is a new character that's introduced. A lot of things going on in the background. Penguin is like all gold, and he's shining like a light behind Batman and Robin. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. All new arc begins, so it's an okay cover. So in this issue, a whispering ex-con named Cy walks free from the Allegheny State Penitentiary and unearths a suitcase from his son's grave with a pendant and a mob boss's obituary. Batman and Robin end Tiger Shark's war with the Penguin at the Gotham Pier and later share a rare moment as father and son, with Bruce inviting Damian to the Monarch Theater to see a movie, not as Robin, but simply as his son. That night, Cy unleashes his vengeance on the Iceberg Lounge, slaughtering Penguin's men and setting the club on fire. So we get issue number 25 here. It begins a new arc, as it says on the cover. Up to this point, we've had a Memento story, which was a supernatural story that went on quite long. Overall, I enjoyed it. It did seem a touch long. I believe it was like 10 issues, the first story. But there were a lot of things in there, including Bruce and Damien's relationship. At one point, Damien was volunteering at the hospital, and he decided at one point he didn't want to be Robin anymore. And there's been a lot of things with Damien over the years. One thing in particular, that Damien was like Robin 100% of the time. What we see in Philip Kennedy Johnson run is Robin wanting to be a boy, wanting to do other things, to branch out. And the end of this first arc, he wants to be Robin again. Bruce has never really been a father. He doesn't know how to be a father. He only knows how to, bring up sidekicks, it seems. So when we jump in this book, I guess the best thing about this book has been Damian. But Damian is really matured, it feels like, in the first arc of this book. So I like that a lot going in. We see a ex-con being released from prison. Is the only information we get. His name is Cy, and apparently he has a son because he goes to an old church and goes to a grave, and the grave only has a symbol on it. And he digs this grave up with his bare hands, and he gets this little suitcase, and it has like pendant that's shaped like the symbol that's on the grave. And there is a obituary. It says, "Feared mob boss dies in captivity." So don't know anything about that or what's going on there. We jump into, there's this war been going on. We saw this a little bit in the last arc between Tiger Shark and the Penguin. And we have Tiger Shark, and he has like an attack helicopter, and he's trying to take out the Penguin's men. He says, "Empty those guns, don't save a single round." And then Batman shows up. And this is actually kind of cool because we see Batman diving out of the Batwing, his little airplane. It's from Batman 89. It's the same type of plane. It's shaped like a bat. And he dives out of here. He has a costume. If you read Batman #1, this is a costume that debuted in that issue. So that's pretty cool to see. And dives right into this helicopter. He gives a little bit of remote instruction from the Batwing to send like a electrical pulse, and it takes out one of the rotors. And in the background, Robin said, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" And he's like, "Not now, not now." And he jumps into the copter and is taking out guys. And then he says, "Now." And Robin jumps his motorcycle off a building and onto the helicopter. It's a great scene. Him and Batman fighting together. They do action very well in this book. And he actually grabs Tiger Shark as the helicopter is landing. Batman is fighting. We do see a weird scene here where a guy falls out. And they even have a couple panels here. A guy gets knocked out of the helicopter. They're up pretty high. It's like building high. I'm not sure if this guy perishes or not, or what's going on there that they showed that particular panel. But we get another cool scene after they've taken out the Tiger Shark. Batman is looking down at the city, and he says this, "I haven't seen this in a long time. See that glow behind me, the skyline? The blue is the Gotham light and power. The red is the lights from the Tri-Gate Bridge. It only looks like this is this exact hour on nights when it's about to rain. I first saw this years ago." And this is where we get a Batman that we haven't really seen before. When Damian wanted to quit as Robin, it took Bruce aback a little bit. And I think he's really trying here. And he basically says, "You're as capable as any partner ever had, Robin. You earned that costume. You deserve it. You deserve to hear that from me more than you do. You deserve to hear how proud you make me. You're not just a Robin, you're my son." And it's a great scene there. And at the end, he does tell him, he says, "I want you to have a life here beyond Batman and Robin. You deserve both. And I'm going to give you both." And you have Damian smiling there. And I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And talking about, you do see Damian's back to the yellow and red with the hood costume, which I like a lot. I wasn't so fond of the gray costume. It was okay. But I like this a lot better. I like the color in it. Not to mention the art in here is really good. I'm not familiar with this artist, and I probably butchered his name at the beginning. And his first name is Fico, and it's Ossio. I liked it a lot. It's kind of gritty, but shows action very well. I hope we see more of him because I really enjoyed this. And then we see a scene where Bruce and Damian is back at Pennyworth Manor. and Bruce says something to Damien, which it took me off guard, to be honest, because it was like, do you want to see a movie tonight? I bet we can catch a late show. And that is something that is normal for me and you to say, hey, let's go see a movie. But for Batman, for Bruce Wayne, this is something that doesn't happen. Because Damien even says, a movie? You mean with other people? And his first question is, what if something happens in Gotham? I said, how can they go see a movie and not be worried about something happening to clear his mind? That doesn't seem like something Batman or Bruce could do. And he even mentions we going to go to the Monarch Theater. And a lot has happened in the Monarch Theater over the years. And this is one of the places that the Joker, most recently, Joker War, he had a bunch of Joker-eyes zombies in there. So the Monarch must be open for business again. And we saw this in the previous arc. I think one of the first issues, we see there's a chessboard that Bruce was playing with Damien's grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, and he turns to the chessboard and says, I'm winning our game, Raz. Gotham is safe, and my boy is happy. And we jump to another scene with the Penguin at the Iceberg Lounge. And this Penguin, the artwork in here, he looks directly like Danny DeVito from Batman Returns, which I don't mind this at all. I don't mind it. I like that different artists have different renditions of how they do the Penguin and different characters. So I enjoyed what we get here. They're actually celebrating, Batman and Robin taking down Tiger Shark because they're popping out the champagne or wine or whatever it is. And they finally, raise their glasses to the Batman. And he says in here, finally to the one that finally put old Shark away, always ready to answer an anonymous tip, the unsung hero of the crew to the Batman. We get Damien and Bruce walking to the Monarch Theater. A lot of lights. They're actually, the movie that's playing is called The Night Witches, which it doesn't seem like that is a great option. It looks like the Monarch Theater, there's only one movie playing. I wonder if it is a low-budget movie or an independent film. Sounds like a horror movie. But what's fun here is Damien says when they walk up, he says, this seems foolish. Your heart rate and eye movements are rapid. You're nervous. We both are. Anything could happen while we're in there. And Bruce is like, Penguin's crew will be celebrating. What's left of the Tiger Shark crew will be on the run or joining the winning team. This isn't a luxury we have often, but tonight we can let our guard down. And he says, I promised you both. So I'm curious, he was talking to Ra's al Ghul's, chessboard. I'm wondering if he means him, that type of thing. So I'm just curious, but I really like these scenes with Damien Bruce. It really shows a lot of characterization that over the time we've had Damien, and we're looking at Damien coming up on 20 years here of Damien being around. And, some of the great stories with Damien has really been, for me personally, has been in the last 5 years or so. There was a Joshua Williamson Robin series where they're on Lazarus Island and there's this tournament. The characterization of him, it really started for me in that book. And that is a great series. I think it went like 12 issues or so. And if you haven't read that series, go ahead and look that up and think about reading that. That really showed Damien, had more of a character than just him being Robin all the time and the same kid that didn't necessarily have the greatest personality to me when he started out. But I started to really like him there, and in this run particularly, we get a lot of good characterization from Damien, and this here just adds to that. I liked it a lot. So in our final scene in this book, you have this, what they're calling the Quiet Man, the Sigh. He walks up to Iceberg Lounge, wants an audience with the Penguin, and they basically say, you don't come in here asking about the Penguin. They call him Quiet Man. And the Quiet Man, his voice in his thought bubbles, the wording is not as every other wording, in the book, it looks much quieter than the guy he's talking to. And one thing I didn't notice to just now is the letters. When they're talking in normal voices, it looks like it's not quite bold, but when they say different things, like they're saying to Tiger Shark, to Polly Pool, to the Batman, it has bold lettering. But here, the Quiet Man it's definitely not bold lettering, and you can tell he's talking kind of quiet. Because he tells one of the thugs, don't be pointing a gun at me, son. Or he takes this guy out with his bare hand. He takes his gun, shoots him in the head. The Penguin's thugs come at him, and he's just taking everybody out. Just one man taking everybody out. The Penguin even says, everybody into the tunnels, out the back. And he says, Paulie, get your boys down there right now. And the Quiet Man starts reciting some kind of poem. I tried looking this up. It wasn't anything that I could find any information about, but it says, still my breath with steel, that I might rest after my life of toil. Cool my blood in earth, that my anger might be quelled. Bless mine eyes with silver, that I might watch for the Savior's coming. If I die today, let it be in the penance for my sins, redeemed by the guns of holy men. As you see, Iceberg Lounge set on fire, and you see Bruce and Damian as this is happening, watching a movie. And it was a good cliffhanger ending. I don't know what's going on with the poem I'm not a good one to talk about poems and exactly what this means. I don't have any idea what this means. There might be, other people that would be like, oh yeah, that's from this story, and it's a poem from this old tale or that sort of thing. I couldn't find any information of it, but our issue ends with him basically setting at least part of the Iceberg Lounge is on fire. But again, I really enjoyed this issue. This is really a jumping on point. You don't really need to know much of anything from the previous arc of Memento. You don't need to know anything at all, and you can jump right into this. And it feels like a great issue. It was paced very well. The art is just fantastic. I would definitely recommend this particular issue. So we're going to take a quick break here and go to this podcast promo.
You like cheap comic books, right? Well, I'm Professor Allen, and I talk about cheap comic books on the Quarterbin podcast. In every episode, I'll dissect a single comic from my collection, as long as I paid no more than 25 cents for the issue. Forget about $4 new comics that you can read in 4 minutes, or crossover events that can cost $100 to collect. Join me in the Quarterbin, where even bad comics are a bargain, and good ones are a steal. The Quarterbin podcast is part of the Relatively Geeky Podcast Network. Visit us at relativelygeekypodcast.blogspot.com or search Relatively Geeky or Quarterbin Podcast in iTunes. I guarantee it'll be worth every penny.
Our last book tonight is Absolute Batman number 12, Abomination, Part 4. Your writer, Scott Snyder. Artist, Nick Dragata. Colorist, Frank Martin. Letterer, Clayton Cowles. Editor, Andrew Marino. And we get a cover here, and it is an awesome-looking cover. It's all in green. You have the Absolute Batman title that's been so since this book has come out with its number 1. And you get the Killer Croc, this version of Killer Croc, in the water, and there's a shadow over top of him, and you can tell it's the shadow of Batman. It's a really awesome cover. And something about Killer Croc's eyes, in this cover, it almost looked like human eyes, the way it's looking up like them. I really love this cover a lot. In this issue, Batman and Wayland have escaped Bane. Grateful for Wayland's help, Bruce is stunned when his friend begs him to end his life. Unable to do it, Bruce watches Wayland vanish into the sewers. In a flashback, Bruce and Selina move into an apartment where she urges him to stop playing by the rules. After finding Bruce unconscious and asleep for 20 days, Bruce wakes to Alfred's grim news. Venom has been fused in a delivery system to his spine and brain. Ignoring Alfred's warning, Bruce leaves. At home, after a brief reunion with his mom, Martha tells him Ozzy has been horribly maimed by Bane, leaving him broken and shrunken. Harvey burned and fractured, blaming Bruce, but admits he only hates him half the time. Eddie has his brain crushed, now obsesses over riddles more than ever. Alfred insists Bane is waging a war, but before Bruce can respond, Selina returns in full Catwoman gear, taking Alfred down in the process. So as we jump into this Absolute Batman number 12, this is part 4 of this Abomination arc, and there hasn't been a lot of progression. Being the 4th issue, we get Bruce was taken by Arc M. We get introduced to Bane. Last issue, we get a little bit of backstory of how this Bane came to be. It's even more kind of demented than he is in the regular DC universe and more violent. And the Venom here, we do get a little bit background of the Venom coming into this book. As Alfred explained it, it says, Bane, who has this venom in his system, has total control over his own muscles. His very cells bend to his will, enhancing his mind, holding whole libraries in his head. Every method of fighting, every weapon, every battle from ancient times till now, a total killing machine. And we've really seen it because he battled Bane several times here, and he just whooped him. No chance. Batman had no chance, and they did some experiments on his body. And as we jump into this issue, last we saw him, Killer Croc, Waylon Jones helped him escape. And Bruce is here with Killer Croc in the sewers, and he's like, you saved me. And Waylon's like, now save me. And Bruce is all in and says, I will find a cure. I will help you. And he says here, the hunger, Bruce, it hurts so much. Save me. And he says, do it. So he takes one of his ears that is a knife from his cow, and he just slams it into the ground. And he says, I can't do it. And it's a pretty powerful scene here because this is like his best friend that we've seen this build up to this 12th issue. And he can't kill his friend, and he locks him away. And it looks like Killer Croc could just, kill him there. And he says, I should have left you in Arc M, as he escapes. And Bruce is like, we can beat this, Waylon. We do get a little flashback of a little bit more with Selina, that they were going to get an apartment together, which is kind of an interesting scene. I like how they do the flashbacks in here, and I'm glad to see Nick Dragotta hasn't been on every issue, but when he's back on these issues, I really enjoy him on this book. And when I think of Absolute Batman, I think of Nick Dragotta and Scott Snyder. Not that the other artists on here have been bad, but I think Nick Dragotta and Scott Snyder are Absolute Batman. And we get a Bruce waking up. As I said, Alfred tells him, you've been out for 20 days. You found you collapsed on the floor in their little bunker, or whatever you want to call it. And this Bruce has been experimented on, like I said earlier. He has a shape of green. It's a bat on his back. There's a line that leads up. It's almost like a green tattoo that hasn't been filled in. And as Alfred tells them, they've done these awful things to your body. There's a delivery system woven in your spine and brain, all loaded with the compound Venom. And Bruce is like, yeah, I'm good. He says, you don't understand. There's things that are changed in this city. And he's like, I just need to get out. So if you remember at the beginning with Alfred didn't want anything to do with Bruce. It was almost at a point he was trying to take him out, but after issue 6, the first art ended, he come around to Bruce's side, but been missing after he went to infiltrate Arc M and got taken and experimented on. And what it seems by these experiments, they're trying to make another Bane almost. And I don't know what's going to happen when Bruce, because you see him walk in the city and you see these little panels, these little horizontal panels where it looks like Venom is entering the system, and he's like, he's screaming. And then it looks like it wears off. So I'm not sure if they were done experimenting, but it said that nobody else has survived this process. So when he walks in the house to meet his mother, Bruce, she runs up to him and then slaps him. And she just wants to hug him for a while. And then they find out what Bane did. Bane, to break Bruce, went after his friends, which you saw that at the end of last issue, I believe. You didn't see what they did. You knew at some point all of his friends being the villains. You had Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, Killer Croc. You knew something was going to happen. And when they announced Arkham and they're experimenting and all these weird experiments, you knew something was going to happen to them. Could I imagine that this would have happened? Because we see the three friends here. We see Ozzy is the Penguin in the regular DC universe. And he goes to the hospital and Leslie Tompkinson there, and she says, I need to prepare you for what you're going to see because I'm not sure you're prepared. And when you see the Penguin here, you see Oswald Cobblepot. He's just a massive blob. His hands are all bandaged up. His legs are humongous. He has lost all of his hair, and he's just very deformed. Leslie said, I've never seen anything like it. And you see a flashback scene of Bane attacking him and just beating on him. They broke nearly every bone in Oswald's body, some in multiple places, but somehow they did it in a way that missed every vital organ. It was precise, surgical, cruel beyond measure. If Oswald lives, he'll be 2 feet shorter in his hands and his feet. It'll be hard, a life of constant pain. And then he goes to the next room, and it's Harvey. And Harvey is all bandaged up. His face is all covered, one half of him. Bane, his huge hands kind of split his skull in two, and he did worse than that. And this comes right out of sort of how Two-Face was made in the Dark Knight movie. It was like a puddle of gasoline, and the warehouse exploded in the Dark Knight movie. Here, he has him laying in a puddle of, it's actually an alcohol bottle, because he came after him with a bottle of rum. So it's alcohol that he's laying face down, and he puts his foot right over his head, laying his one side down. And Bane talks about poker chips. He says, you established this ritual long ago, didn't you? This poker game, a safe place where stakes are void, where you can be both, forever outlaw and lawman, friend and enemy. And he takes a plastic poker chip, lights it on fire, and throws it, and then you just see that the alcohol went up in flames. But you see he's covered in bandages, and his one eye is covered. And he still has this poker chip, and I assume this poker chip is, one side is scarred and the other side isn't. Apologizes to Harvey, and he says, I'm sorry, this is my fault. He says, yes, it's your fault. He says, you gambled for real. Put it out there. Your friends, the city, everything. All the chips. And he says, I only hate you half the time. And then he shows up at Eddie's place. So all three of them got jumped. I don't know really what's going on here. They said Eddie got beaten, the front of his. It looked like Bane took his fingers and punctured his eyes, so he's blind now. If you go all the way back to Absolute Batman number 3, and Eddie introduced his little robot, and it's actually like a smart robot because it figured out Black Mass Network and that sort of thing. It's sort of connected to the internet. Well, Eddie has become sort of disfigured. His brain is exposed. I think he must have cracked his skull. But he took part of this robot apart, and he kind of connected to himself. And he's sitting there, and I don't know what he's doing, if he's putting in pieces from the robot for him to be able to see, because he's using a screwdriver and going into where his eyes are, even though he took like pieces from sunglasses almost that goggles that are covering his eyes and blood is coming down. And Bruce is like, we need to get you to a hospital. And the one thing talked about what he did to him, he says, he challenged me to a friendly battle of wits. He says, if I won, he would let me kill him. He even handed me a gun. And he says, I bet you like riddles. And whatever he did, he said he slammed to the front of his brain into his skull, the frontal lobe, the part responsible for intelligence. He says, suddenly, questions, bang, questions everywhere. And he's all about riddles. Well, makes a lot of sense, the Riddler. Before this ends, we do get another flashback scene where Bruce and Selina, it looks like they have a ton of money, and they come to Mr. Falcone, who's playing golf, and they're talking about Waylon Jones, and it seems like they're trying to bribe him. Not sure what's going on there. Something to do with not playing by the rules, which Selina had mentioned before. We get back here with Alfred, and Bruce is really upset. He's like, he broke them, Pennyworth. He broke my friends. And he's like, are you going to let him break you? You chose this. I told you, you're in it now. Everything has changed. There's no going back. And then somebody has breached the hatch, and they assume it's Bane, and they're ready. Alfred, there's this one full-page panel. Alfred has this gun that he has two hands. He's holding it low, some type of machine gun. It looks awesome. And Bruce is holding his little axe, his chest plate. And Alfred gets taken out. Not killed, but just knocked out, it looks like. Knocked unconscious. And it's revealed it's Selina. And all we see of this Catwoman costume, her ears and her face. And she has a helmet just like Black Mask. Like one of those mirror helmets that him and his crew had. And you got to wonder, is it a helmet like that? Is it connected to some network? Who's she working for? Because we get Bruce and Selina, and Bruce is like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, hello to you too, Bruce. So it doesn't seem like, they ended on good terms or whatever it was, or she went off and did things that Bruce didn't approve of, or who knows what's going on. But it was a pretty good cliffhanger. I'm loving the heck out of this book since issue number 1. Things are just over the top crazy. This is a Bruce Wayne that we haven't seen before. It's a new take. You can say it's an Elseworlds take. I'm really loving this series so far. Every issue that comes, it blows me away. The last few issues, I was confused what they were doing with Bruce because I knew they were experimenting on his body. I don't know how they're going to beat Bane. I'll be honest at this point because, as I said, the Venom, and this might be affecting Bruce too, because I talked about how the Venom is enhancing Bane's mind and he can read books and know every method of fighting, every weapon, every battle there's been, all these strategies. Well, Bruce has this Venom in him too. So is this a case that Bruce is going to be like this? This is going to be the ultimate Batman, the ultimate fighting machine. Is Bruce going to succumb to this and kind of let it take him over and use it as a weapon? I really don't see, the battles that he's had with Bane. So far, I don't see how he's going to be able to beat him. I'm like at a loss of where this is going to go. I have no idea, but I'm looking forward to it because he's going to win in the end because they really did a number on his friends. It would be interesting to see what role they take, and what Gotham City looks like. I'd be interested to see. So, looking forward to next issue. So I just want to thank you for listening to this edition of a new Comic Book Day special. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a little bit. I was talking about these books as they're released, and I had a lot of fun. Again, if you have any thoughts about these particular books, let me know. Send me an email. Let me know what you thought. So until next time, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later.